Hi, welcome to Manas Shil YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 19. Chapter 3. The Royal Capital in Flames. Continuous battle. Masayuki was bewildered by the rapidly changing situation. He was completely left out of the situation. However, one comment from Hinata made Masayuki feel more trapped than ever. "So, how long do you intend to keep squeezing my breasts?" Twist. Masayuki couldn't help but choke. "I'm not squeezing them. It was just a touch of my hand." He tried to make an excuse, but unconsciously turned to face Hinata at close range, and Masayuki tensed up at the sight of her beauty. There were many beautiful women in Tempest, but they were of the nature of extraordinary beauty. The same was true of Valgrand. His beauty was similarly outside the realm of humanity. In contrast, Hinata's beauty was that of a familiar Japanese face. Although her beauty had been enhanced by becoming a saint, she still possessed a unique charm that made one feel at ease. But one shouldn't be fooled by appearances. Masayuki had heard a lot about her from Rimur. Hinata was the only one who must never be offended. Even Valdora agreed. "She's a persistent woman. No matter what you do, she will surely be avenged," he had warned him with a straight face. It would be unfortunate if he were to do something inappropriate with someone who had made a demon lord and a true dragon fear her. Fully aware of this, Masayuki hurriedly jumped to his feet and apologized to Hinata. Incidentally, although she pretended to be calm at that time, Hinata was also very upset. She had never had her breasts squeezed by another person before, and was wondering how she should react. If it had been intentional, Hinata would have taken appropriate measures to deal with it, but in Masayuki's case, it was completely unavoidable. This made Hinata's judgment waver, and ultimately saved Masayuki's life. "I am sorry. It was by no means on purpose." He was unable to come up with a good excuse, but Masayuki's words were interrupted by Hinata. "Just kidding. I know it was a force majeure." Despite the smile on her face, Masayuki couldn't stop the cold sweat running down his spine. In fact, he had no idea what was going on. His understanding couldn't catch up. He wanted to tell her frankly, but he felt like he would be doomed if he did, so he could only keep silent. "You can't be seriously offended by a mere breastrobe, can you?" "Hey, Masayuki, I'll let you squeeze mine as much as you want." Valgrand dropped a bomb with a laugh. "No thank you" couldn't be said. Masayuki was still a young man after all. However, he sincerely hoped that such a meeting would be held in a quiet and unobtrusive place. Hinata looked at them with a furtive glance, but when she tried to get up, she groaned in pain. Hinata-sama. While screaming, Cardinal Nicholas rushed over and held Hinata up. Her arms and legs were still pierced, and she could not even stand up. "I will treat you immediately." Nicholas, in a panic, performed an impressive high-ranking holy magic, high heel, with great skill. Hinata immediately recovered and returned to the battlefield. Thus, the rearranged battle resumed. "Hinata-sama, is this okay? Why don't you leave this to Masayuki Dono?" Nicholas asked, but Hinata turned a deaf ear to his suggestion. Masayuki, who was horrified by Nicholas's words, was greatly relieved to learn that Hinata had no intention of doing so. There was nothing else to do but to ask Hinata to do her best. Knowing this, Hinata gave a small smile. It was a truly cruel smile, a true expression of Hinata's beauty, a beautiful woman wearing men's clothing. To tell the truth, Hinata had lost her temper with Reiner. And more than that, she could not forgive herself for her mistake of being careless. "No, there's no problem. I'm done waiting around." It was a declaration of victory. There was no room for pity for the person who had tortured her so much. Hinata had completely read the path to victory. Hinata looked at Reiner with a benevolent smile on her face. Her eyes, however, remained cold. "Well, now then. I'll take you seriously, so be prepared." Damn you. "You the one who killed the king, you big sinner, and now, I'm done playing with you. I'll kill you. You will never be able to win against me no matter what, you coward." "Funny you should say that. You're the one who's a coward." There was nothing more annoying than having the truth pointed out to you. Reiner gritted his teeth. "Tisk, I guess you misunderstood. I took it easy on you, because you're a woman, you know. I was trying to be gentle with you, so I wouldn't accidentally kill you. Even so, I can't forgive your attitude." Reiner's eyes were bloodshot with excitement, and his mind was on the verge of going insane. In anticipation of this, Hinata continued to instigate him. Is that so? Well then, you'd better get yourself together and prove it to me. Hinata was no longer careless. She knew that Reiner was not a chivalrous man, and she had no intention of showing mercy to such a vulgar being. Perhaps Reiner understood this, and he howled with his face turning red. I will forgive you, even if you cry. Fine then, I'll grant you your wish. Over and over again, I'll slash and slash and slash. Reiner's sole purpose was to show off his strength to his subordinates, and the public by overwhelmingly overpowering Hinata. Normal judgment was no longer something he could hope for. Perhaps sensing this, Hinata looked at Reiner coldly. There was not a trace of kindness in her eyes, and they were filled with contempt. Reiner rushed towards Hinata. Unperturbed, Hinata readied her phantom pain. And then, their swords clashed. Hi-ya-hi-ya. Die, 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 die. Reiner shouted with an expression full of madness. The sword he swung down with all his might had the power to kill, but it was no match for Hinata. It could shatter even the phantom pain if taken seriously, but there was no need to meet it head-on. There was no need to hesitate anymore. Even though Reiner's physical ability was better than Hinata's, it did not matter to her. She dodged Reiner's sword lightly, and aimed at the gap in his armor to stab him. Jaya! Reiner screamed. The intense pain rushed through his body, and he regained his composure for a moment. What is this pain? Didn't I gain power, and become immune to such half-hearted attacks? He became Vega's servant, and had gained the power of a staff officer grade phantom. In addition, now that he had been given mythical grade armor, there was no way he could be defeated by Hinata. Moreover, the fact that he could feel pain was unusual. He could not hide his confusion at the fact that his pain blocker was ineffective. The damage itself was not serious, but the pain did not seem to subside. Reiner gritted his teeth. Earlier, he had thought that he was just in bad shape, but now he was beginning to show serious impatience. Yufu. Did I hurt you? Cry harder and entertain me. Hinata had an ecstatic expression on her face, and lasciviously moistened her lips with her tongue. This gesture suited Hinata very well. It was reminiscent of a superior predating on the inferior. While Nicholas was staring at Hinata with a passionate gaze, Masayuki was horrified. It was a gesture that might create a rabid fan base among some of the sexually inclined, but for Masayuki, it was a pity. This person is scary. I'll make sure to never offend Hinata-san. He was truly convinced that Rimuru was right. Hinata pursued Reiner without caring about the reactions of the people around her. Fearing the incomprehensible pain of the stab, Reiner desperately tried to defend himself. However, the attack was not so sweet that it could be escaped from. Now die. Dead End Rainbow. With a fluid movement, Hinata accurately pierced Reiner. Each blow was painful and tormented Reiner. Did this much. If I can endure this pain, could you? Because his mind had been destroyed, there was no way he could endure it. To begin with, Reiner's physical body had been strengthened tremendously, but his mental body was still immature. Even if he had absorbed the phantom, which was a spiritual life form, his mental defense had not been strengthened. He helped me, Vega-san. Though the pain wouldn't go away. Reiner tried to heal the damage he had suffered, but he could not heal his mind. It was not surprising that Reiner, who was in a state of panic due to the intense fear and suffering, lost his normal judgment and was unable to do anything. Moreover, because his spiritual body had grown too large, the time he spent in pain was much longer. It was so bad that he thought he would rather be dead. At the beginning of the battle, Venom had been the main opponent of Arios. The remaining 3 players served as supporters, keeping Arios in check. Masayuki was standing with his arms crossed, watching Venom's battle. To be honest, it would be more accurate to say that he was just standing there, rather than watching the battle. The occasional glow was his proof that the battle was still going on. It was an impossible task for Masayuki to understand the battle with his eyes. The speed was too fast to follow with his eyes, and it was impossible to understand what was going on. He was just pretending to be able to see. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. Not wanting to get in the way, he left the fighting to the others. Masayuki now understood exactly what he was capable of. It was on the level of enlightenment, so his sense of fear was diminishing. Even so, fear was still fear. To distract himself from his fear, Masayuki recalled a happy memory. That is, the feeling that lingered in his right hand, the softness and warmth of Hinata's breast. Of course, Grin-san would let me squeeze them without asking, but that's not the point. I'm afraid of what might happen later, so I think it's a little different. In this respect, Hinata was wonderful. She was quite scary, but he was forgiven for something unavoidable. With this, there was no need to worry anymore. He could enjoy his happiness without worrying about the future. Without even realizing it, Masayuki's happy mood had a tremendous impact on the scene. In response to Masayuki's wish, a lucky field was set up, granting an immense blessing for all those who stood by Masayuki. The truth of the world had been reached, the ultimate skill king of heroes was in full effect. As such, Venom and the others had a relative advantage in the battle. Venom attacked without hesitation, as if he were strolling along on a walk. Doom enemy. The claws on Venom's hands turned jet black and grew long. The surface of his claws vibrated finely with a technique that generated waves that could split all matter. Clicking his tongue, Arios evaded. But it didn't stop there. How naive. Leaving the mutter behind, Minutes took aim at Arios, who had lost his stance. He tilted his body unnaturally, ignoring gravity and inertia, and rushed forward like a cannonball. With his unique skill oppressor, he adjusted his trajectory to Arios, forming an obstacle-free path. He then compressed and exploded the air under his feet to gain thrust. Minutes reached his maximum speed in an instant, and unleashed a barrage of blows that left Arios no time to react. You small fry, you getting carried away. Arios, who had been head-butted in the jaw and knee-kicked in the stomach, glared at Minutes in fury. But Arios could not afford to do so. Assassination is my specialty. A black flash of light ripped through Arios. Jiwoo, who had been hiding in perfect cover, had aimed for the moment when Arios' mind was turned to Minutes. As Arios tried to retreat, a spear of lightning pierced him. It was Bernie's special strike, a condensed version of Thunder Rain fused with spearmanship. Don't forget about me either. Even though he had lost his ultimate enchantment alternative, it was a skill he had once acquired. Bernie had tried his best to be useful to Emperor Masayuki, and was able to recreate his former abilities to some extent. The same was true for Jiwoo. Incidentally, Minutes had become stronger than before, but he seemed to have been empowered by experience. Just as he said he loved fighting. Perhaps the strength of will had something to do with the fact that people with abnormal personalities became stronger. That's what Bernie thought, but he wasn't stupid enough to say that. Right now, he honestly felt that strong friends were reassuring. And so, the four of them put up a good fight against Arios, who was incomparably stronger in terms of existence value. Moreover, this did not change, even when Arios became serious. I don't have time to play around here. I'm going to give it my all, so be prepared. Arios politely declared as he held two daggers in his hands. The mythical grade 2 sword style was Arios' original style of melee combat. Damn them, they're only halfway competent, and yet they're still getting in my way. Arios was indignant. Arios was convinced that this would be the best way to deal with the small fry without much trouble. It turned out that he was careless in the next attack. A slash of divine speed struck Venom, slicing off the black claws that had barely caught him. Even the vibrations that cut through all matter seemed powerless before the mythical grade weaponry, or so it seemed. As if it was a natural result, Arios kept his expression unchanged and looked at Venom with a smile. It was as if he was looking at an insect. This is the difference in strength between you and me, he seemed to say with an air of pride on his face. But then it was distorted by an impossible situation. Pain shot through both of Arios' arms. Haha, look at you. I'm lucky, I didn't think you'd get 2 stabs. Arios' expression twitched when heard Venom's laughter. As Venom pointed out, Arios had 1 black claw on each of his arms. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.